Well, I'm off today for my podcast at the Lucy Library at UMS for a very important meeting. Hello, I'm Herb Blair again. This podcast is called Parkinson's Market Messaging Podcast. Some people might call it some kind of just a business marketing, but in this case, it's unique. You can see some of the things that's going on as far as at UAMS, as far as accelerating, you know, neurology research in Arkansas. So it was good to have the opportunity to sit down with the department head in neurology, Dr. Dahl, and he was joined by my neurologist, Dr. Vermani, and then we had the person who had organized all this, and I'll introduce her a little bit later, but she had done a fantastic job putting this together. The when you're finding evangelists for any cause in business, evangelism refers to promoting the positive attributes of a product or service to a wide audience to increase a company's customer base. And I'm very familiar with that, with starting a technology company in the Ozarks and taking it over to 50 countries. But what I wanted to do in this case was, how could we be, mutual reciprocals as far as evangelists in promoting neurology research and care in Arkansas. We were brainstorming, and I'll say pun intended on that, ways that delusional Parkinson patient can work with the head of neurology at UMS. Now, some would say that's a daunting undertaking. Marketing in Arkansas is different. And I said something about this yesterday. It reminded me of my early days in cable software, where we sold directly to the owners. And it was I compared that to Argentina with a mix of Italians and Spanish and Germans. And the residents there were different. Where, the presentations were, I call them smash mouth or in your face, the type that you would get to the point, answer questions, and see if you had a solution or not. And that happened quite frequently in the Ozarks, or even throughout the rural part of the U.S. where a lot of the mom and pops started with cable. So I had a lot of experience in that. But as it progressed, my I guess as far as when you went to the urban areas and Fortune 500 marketing, I compared it was similar to Brazil with a more genteel approach. I don't know if you really realize this, but Brazil was influenced by the Japanese. I don't know if anybody knows this, but they have the largest ethnic Japanese culture outside Japan. I don't think most would think about that. The Portuguese culture is a little more laid back as well. Not anything maybe like the Spanish, Italian, and again German influence that was in Argentina. But that's just a comparison I had to talk about how to maybe approach things. So, and not realizing cultural differences meant you were dead before you started. Okay, I guess the way the meeting had been set up was by a happenstance meeting of myself with Erica Dunn, and she's kind of executive development of, in relationships, and also some of the things that's going on there at UAMS concerning activities and publications. And then there was an event coming up in December that was featuring a person I had talked to, and So we had some commonality right off the top. Of course, her husband Corey was there, and her mother resides here at the Villas of Chenal. So there was a lot of things that were happening all at once. But for whatever reason, we got to discussing, her connection with UAMS, since I was dealing with Parkinson's, and the doctor I was dealing with was Dr. Vermani, which she knew, and she knew the thing there with Frank O'Mara, the track star from the University of Arkansas that has Parkinson's, and he was going to be involved in an activity that's coming up in December, and she was trying to find out ways to maybe get that message out. And so we were visiting there, and one of the funny things about being out there at the pool was, I guess being an outdoorsman, we found that Corey, he was finding was a scorpion. They found not smaller than this, but there were some of those out there in the pool, which that would have been a surprise if some other people had been there. I mean, I'm talking about my daughter or wife. I'm not sure what they would have done. But I do wear shoes, for the pool, so I'm not too concerned myself. But some people barefoot might step on one of those, and it would be a pretty big shock. Well, at least we don't have any of these things, piranhas swimming around. But you can see up there, Frank O'Mara, bend don't break. I keep that out there, and he put a thing in there about me being a contributor. And I think what he said, and it was a compliment in our podcast that we did together, and he said some people are consumers and some people are contributors, and that was a pretty high compliment. So I wanted to make that known. But as you can imagine, this meeting, chance as it was, led into a meeting that gave me a chance to talk about my podcast and my approach to that. And I think the messaging part of the approach was important from her standpoint, was the fact that I was kind of using a different way of doing it. I think everybody aware that I'm 80-year-old and unplugged, and when you say delusional Parkinson's, it probably compares to what Ryan Reynolds is going to be talking this weekend about his father, and I think it's Jim Reynolds, and how they didn't really recognize that, and it created some major problems within the family, and he isolated him, and I've kind of commented that it happens a lot in that situation. I've seen some of that myself, and some of that maybe is something I see it as one thing, and other people see it as another, but I can see some very good similarities. So hopefully, once that show is presented and there's some discussion on that, I can get back with Dr. Dahl, and we'll have a sit-down podcast. Again, at this time, I think it was wise that we did not record any live conversation. It allowed us to talk candidly and again, say things about how to do things and the do's and don'ts, and be open about our discussion. And so later on, that discussion might be one that we want to have, and it'll be more specific to how to handle certain things. But what we're trying to see is, how to promote an event that's coming up in December. But the other objectives out there and on my end was, are there ways that we can promote each other? And I would appeal to a little different audience. And I'll show you some of that later on, how I'm involved with, some people that may not spend the time to go to the library, as far as the digital library there, and look up information that's a little more clinical. And, you can look at that both ways, but sometimes you have to grab people's attention. And I wanted to bring up the marketing plan there that I mentioned about Argentina and others, with that idea in mind that when you're marketing in Arkansas, sometimes you have to be a little more direct and do some of the things that I'm doing in my podcast that maybe is not appealing to some other information that's really good information, but it appears too clinical, or it doesn't appear to be something people want to dig into. So hopefully we can, I can build points, and there'll be areas where we can reference the different, obviously different segments that's in that library that are pertain to people who have Parkinson's. So that's really where we are at this point. Okay, here's a video introducing Dr. Dahl. And again, we're going to do something, I think, more one-on-one later, and we'll kind of capture an event of some kind and discuss. But at this time, I would just like to introduce Dr. Dahl.
My name is Dr. Rohit Dahl. I'm one of the neurologists at UAMS. Often the diagnosis of Parkinson's disease is made on clinical grounds. We look for the cardinal symptoms of slowness and stiffness, and if there's a tremor, of the characteristics of the tremor. We also can do some ancillary testing to confirm the diagnosis. One of the things that we have available at UAMS is a special scan called a dopamine transport scan that allows us to look at the integrity of the dopamine system, know that the dopamine system is working well. And it's one of the few centers in the state that is able to do that scan to confirm the diagnosis. In our clinic, we provide a multidisciplinary approach. We try as neurologists, as my neurosurgeon, as speech and physical therapists, as our counselors and neuropsychologists, we try and form the team around our patients to give them the services that they need, be it clinical care, be it support, be it participation in clinical trials and research, be it educating the next generation of doctors. So our goals are to provide the support that our community in Arkansas needs for their neurological care and for continuing to contribute to the care of the future generation as well. We're at a place in history where we're probably a couple of key breakthroughs away from finding a cure for Parkinson's. Unfortunately, we've been at this place for the last 30 years. The more we understand about the disease pathology, the more we know that we need additional work. And I think the question of what drives optimism or hope in Parkinson's disease comes up in the clinic as much as it comes up when I go talk with patient support groups, or when I'm talking amongst my colleagues, the doctors who take care of Parkinson's disease quite frequently. We now understand the disease pathology in better detail than we have ever in the history of Parkinson's disease. We now know some of the genetic and molecular mechanisms of Parkinson's disease development, and in advancing our optimism, we're developing targeted therapies towards these molecular and genetic mechanisms. There are challenges in developing these therapies. That's what wakes me up in the morning. That's what excites me, is trying to bring those therapies to our patients and trying to develop ways in which we can make the diagnosis as quickly as we can, get our patients through the appropriate evaluation process, give them the tools that they need to live a better life, but also show them where we're at in research for Parkinson's disease and in where some of the likely breakthroughs are going to come from.
So after Willie Geist interviews Ryan Reynolds on his father's, Jim Reynolds, delusional Parkinson's, might be a good time to get back in touch with Dr. Dahl and do a sit-down podcast and talk about the non-motor Parkinson's, similar to what Jim Reynolds had, and also similar to what I've experienced with my relationship with my wife and son.
Fatherhood has Ryan rethinking a complicated relationship with his own dad, James, who died in 2015 after a 20-year battle with Parkinson's disease. Parkinson's affects an estimated 1 million Americans, including Michael J. Fox and my father, Bill Geist.
I was reading through your dad's story, and my gosh, is it almost shot for shot our story, which is diagnosed at a pretty young age.
Yeah,
my
your dad was 47,
47,
48?
yeah. And denial for a long time.
Yeah.
In fact, we didn't name it for a long time.
No. And that might have said Parkinson's, I think, 3 times
Yeah.
in his entire life, to me. It wasn't until very late into my father's battle that I even knew hallucinations and delusions were common in people with Parkinson's.
Today, Ryan, alongside his mother Tammy, is partnering with Acadia Pharmaceuticals to raise awareness about some lesser-known warning signs of Parkinson's.
Jim came home from a trip, and he was convinced I'd been in the car with him. I was not in the car.
Reynolds' dad, among the 50% of Parkinson's patients who experience delusions and hallucinations, says neurologist Dr. Daniel Kremens.
People think of Parkinson's disease as just like a motor disease where they have a little bit of tremor or maybe some slowness or difficulty walking. But Parkinson's disease is so much more complicated than that.
I just kind of cast it as, oh, he's losing his marbles. Had I known, I think I would have handled it better. I think I would have been a much more patient person. I think my father would have felt way less alone.
In his father's final months, a moment of joy.
He met your first child, right?
He met my daughter, James.
Yes.
Who's named for him.
So you got that pleasure.
Yeah, and I love that she got to meet him. Granddaughters would have really changed him.
Yeah, right. Softens you right up.
Yeah.
Wow.
You know, in addition to being such a truly a great guy, people always wonder, what are they really like? Ryan is one of the all-time great guys.
Okay, next is my neurologist, Dr. Vermani.
Neurologists and neurosurgeons at UAMS Health work to create the best experience for patients. Dr. Tuhan Vermani is a movement disorder neurologist and researcher here to talk with us about Parkinson's, its symptoms, and treatment options. This is UAMS Health Talk from the University of Arkansas for Medical Sciences. I'm Scott Webb. Dr. Vermani, thanks so much for joining me. When I think about Parkinson's, I think about someone like Michael J. Fox, who has continued to live and
It is a pleasure to talk to you today about a project we are working on to try and help improve access to care for people with Parkinson's disease in the state of Arkansas, as well as improve their ability to participate in research. As you know, Parkinson's disease is primarily a disease that affects more elderly people in which they develop problems with mobility. This can include tremor, but also includes difficulty walking and over time development of balance problems that can lead to falls. In addition, people can have problems with their thinking and also develop changes in mood, such as depression and anxiety. When taken all together, this can make it difficult for people to access the care that they need to treat their disease best. This is especially a problem in a state like Arkansas, where a majority of people have to travel long distances to access care. 3 out of the 4 people who are trained to take care of Parkinson's disease, called movement disorders neurologists, practice at UAMS in Little Rock. This means that a large portion of the population has to travel to access care. In our clinic, almost 50% of the people travel over 30 miles to get to us to get the care that they need. This is especially a problem, as I talked to you earlier, where people have problems with balance and thinking that may limit their ability to drive and make them have to rely on family members or even neighbors to help bring them into their clinic visits. So the goal of this project is to make it easier for people with Parkinson's in the state of Arkansas to access care closer to home, or possibly even in their homes, to make it easier for people with Parkinson's to participate in research projects and thereby feel more empowered that they are helping possibly even develop a cure for the disease in the long run, and also develop tools to track how Parkinson's changes, as well as develop tools to collect this information in a private and secure manner. How will we do this? Well, due to the COVID pandemic, we are already having people participate in clinic visits in their home using their smartphones, tablets, or computers. We also have a network in Arkansas of hospitals that we plan to use to provide care to people closer to their homes. At the same time as they participate in these clinic visits, we will also ask them to participate in the research part of this project, where we will collect their information in a more objective manner. What do I mean by this? Well, as I mentioned, people with Parkinson's have difficulty speaking, so we'll record their voice and see how the softness or how they develop freezing in their speech over time. We will also have them walk for a fixed distance and measure how this changes over time. We have also developed ways to track how their fingers move more objectively over time using a sort of computer game where they tap their fingers on the computer and walk a frog through a maze using different ways. This will allow us over time to not only see how the disease is progressing, but it will also allow us to see how people respond to different changes in treatment. For example, if we change their levodopa dose, which is the main medicine that we use to treat Parkinson's disease, we can then see if their finger tapping speed or their finger tapping amplitude changed with the treatment that we provided to them. In addition, we have a team that researches how to better collect this type of information from different sources, such as the voice recordings, the computer recordings, or measurements of thinking that we will use a tablet to administer, and put it together in a single place where researchers can then use it to develop research projects in the future. We hope to allow researchers at other institutions in the United States and even around the world to pool their information together in this single source and thereby use the information which people such as yourself, possibly with Parkinson's, have provided to form larger population studies, which is what is needed to help us solve the many different problems currently that we need to help understand this disease better. So in summary, this project will help improve access to care for people with Parkinson's disease, help improve their ability to participate in research, and help us develop tools to not only track the disease, but to collect and use this information in a more informative and efficient manner. Thank you.
Healthcare Magazine, People, Sports, Outdoors, Dynamic Duo, Erica and Corey Dunn. By EP Staff, May 9th, 2023. By EP Staff, May 9th, 2023. Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, LinkedIn, mail. Arkansas is full of dynamic duos, those couples and partners in business who've made lasting impacts on their communities. And they come in many different flavors, from community business leaders to those Arkansans making noise on a global stage. Arkansas Money in Politics wants to recognize them each year, because their work in industry and commitment to philanthropy is something that should be recognized. We're proud to do so here. Corey Dunn is the Director of Development at Ducks Unlimited, and Erica Willard Dunn is the Senior Director of Development and Institutional Advancement at University of Arkansas for Medical Sciences. An alumnus of Southern Arkansas University, Corey developed a passion for the outdoors at an early age, which led to a nearly 2 decades-long career in conservation. As a Director of Development at Ducks Unlimited in Arkansas, Corey aligns donors with projects that benefit wildlife, habitat, and people. Partnering with the Arkansas Game and Fish Commission and Arkansas Game and Fish Foundation to restore quality habitat on public green reservoirs has been a primary focus for Corey. Driven by this collaboration, not to mention all its supporters and volunteers, the Arkansas chapter of Ducks Unlimited is recognized nationally as a leader in wetlands conservation. Erica has also worked to help conservation efforts across Arkansas. She has worked with the National Wild Turkey Federation as a regional director to increase net revenue and organize an active volunteer base. She has also worked with the National Rifle Association to increase net revenue by engaging volunteers and local business partnerships. Now, Erica is using her development talents and experience to help UAMS in its mission to create a healthier Arkansas and educate and train the physicians of tomorrow. Whether it be mallards dropping in through the timber or gobblers thundering through the woods, I can honestly say I feel closest to God when I am surrounded by His creation, she said. Read also.
My goals are, sponsorship of my podcast and getting my content out to people who have issues with depression and obviously anxiety and things that might be considered delusional. But I also want to introduce a person, Dr. Lyda Adkins Kreiner. Your background and you're taking care of people and what have you been most disappointed in? I know we've kind of touched on that a little bit. I just want to make sure that there are a lot of people that try to do their job, and I'm always thinking in real simple terms of just somebody that just kind of goes in as a caregiver and maybe they don't really do much more than just show up and be there and there are things, I guess. What have you noticed or have you been able to observe when you go into, maybe you catch them at the best time or maybe you've seen them at the worst time, but what are some of your observations as what you see that you're either happy with, and I'm talking more of the service and not family members taking care of somebody, but do you see something that you like real well? I know that there's certain nursing homes that you feel are better than others just because of the way they take care of people, but what are some of the observations? Okay, the following is a recording of her with a MLS patient.
Shift nurse didn't put my cheek.
Do you mind if I record?
No.
Okay. So go ahead. Say whatever.
Well, my nurses are nice, but they're just not enough.
Not enough people here to.
No.
So some of your needs aren't met to your
Right.
satisfaction.
Not in time, I think. And the night shift nurse didn't put my patch on my cheek like my wound care nurse said she was told to.
So there are some frustrations, to say the least, right? Well, what we're trying to do, it's through the Human Services, this in Parkinson's Act, which I'm interested in any neurodegenerative problem, all of them, MS, ALS, even chronic fatigue syndrome, which may not be a neurodegenerative problem, but I'm going to write an article for a journal, the one that you all have been reading, Brain and Life, and really look at the cause of any kind of brain disorder, as they call it. They call all of these brain disorders, and they talk about treating the symptoms. So we have all these foundations that are getting billions, maybe, of dollars to continue research. So I looked at Dr. James Parkinson, whose namesake we have the illness, and he said over 200 years ago that he hoped when he died that his colleagues would continue to look for the cause. So that's over 200 years ago, and
he's kind of busy right now.
and we're still looking.
I was just wondering.
Do you need
What? I was wondering for the light if needed.
I just had a question.
Okay.
Can I answer it or can?
Did Crystal say when she's gonna come take me to physical therapy today, Jackson?
She did not tell me, but I can go ask her though. Want me to?
Ask Jordan.
Ask Jordan? Okay.
Yeah.
I'll do that.
Okay.
All right.
Who are these people?
Oh, my superhero figures.
Oh my goodness. Well, you need to have Wonder Woman there. She's
Oh,
my
shoot.
hero.
Oh, that's right.
You got to get a Wonder Woman.
So nice.
I've been thinking about her since 1945.
Shoot.
I was stranded in a Greyhound bus depot, my mother and siblings, and we were headed to Arkansas from Arizona. And I was holding on to her dress. I was the eldest, 4. And my baby brother in her arms and my sister also hanging on. And I got separated from her. And I remember sitting in that wooden bench in that old-fashioned Greyhound depot. And I had a Wonder Woman comic book rolled up, you know.
Oh.
It was like yesterday. I'm sitting there holding this, and I opened it and started reading it. I wasn't even frightened that I'd separated from Mother. And then I heard her frantically calling, Lida, Lida. And there I was sitting there just quietly reading Wonder Woman. So she's been my password in a lot of, websites.
Oh.
So, Kathy, do you want this chair?
No, do you not need it?
Well, I will use it. I'm gonna.
Yeah, use it. I can sit in here if I want to.
How much time do we have, David?
I don't know.
Choose
I
that.
got physical therapy today, but I don't ever get informed on when I'm picked up.
Oh, there's not a definite hour that.
Not this round.
Well, you look really good. You got really good color, and you look healthy and
Yeah.
wonderful. So you're working towards some aim of maybe being discharged?
Yes.
Of course. What a point.
I'm not disabled. Well, I'm not an old person, and I've got a sane mind.
Really, I noticed that.
And they've got the proof of it, too.
Well,
'Cause I took a
BIM.
for them.
a BIM, what's that?
It's a cognition test when he was coming in here to see,
Oh,
do you know the president?
so you have some cognates?
Yeah.
Probably a lot of them.
Yeah, got a 13 of, I think, 15 rating.
As opposed to compared to what?
I guess lower than 13. I don't know.
You got blue eyes?
I don't know what color my eyes are.
Yeah, I call them doe brown eyes.
Doe brown?
Yeah.
Well, that's nice.
Dark brown.
Well, I didn't write a list of things I wanted to ask you, but what we're trying to do, this group I'm going to be working with, is try to help people who are disabled and who believe they're here to stay, like in a facility, and what their needs are, non-motor needs, like hopes, dreams, trying to find out who you are, your identity. These things that are on Maslow's hierarchy, the top, once your meals, or you have your meals, call them that, and then on up to self-realization and what you hope to achieve. That is, I believe that those are so important because I've been through it myself, facing death and thinking, did I meet my purpose? Did I become who I believe I was meant to be? And I think some of those things are important, but I wonder if they are important to you, like thinking about your life, the rest of it. For example, if you're out of here, what would you be doing or want to do?
Want to just stand up and walk.
I'm really begging the question, right? That's good.
Yeah.
I just want to stand up.
Yeah.
But the next thing you want to do is have voice. You want to be heard. You want to be known. Well, not worldwide, globally. Like
Yeah.
you want to take a picture and post it on the global format. But I guess I'm a philosopher, and I think you are a bit of one too.
Oh.
And by the way, I brought this book for you. It's a book that I think no one can live without.
Oh.
It's Introduction to Philosophy, and it's the best version. I've taught this book and used it for 20 years, the same book. Somehow they wanted me to continue to use it.
Oh.
Because it's the elements of philosophy. So right now I'm wearing my bracelet, the periodic table elements.
Oh.
So elements are, you know, what can't be reduced further.
Oh.
So there are 5 elements in philosophy: ethics, knowledge, religion, politics, and metaphysics.
Oh.
See, you couldn't even think of another one, could you?
No.
So metaphysics is at the top, and those are the invisible things, the eternal things. So my students from even high school to graduate like this book. In fact, I was introduced to it in graduate school.
Oh.
Because it's so basic and clear and down to earth and practical that anybody can be happy reading it. I mean, finding out some of the deeper meanings to life. But right now, your deeper meaning and you want to stand up.
Yeah.
So what's going on toward that effort?
Just taking physical therapy.
How long have you been doing that?
2 or 3 weeks.
Is that all?
Yep.
How long have you been here?
Hello. Hey, Jordan. Hey.
Almost 3 months.
So you weren't really ready for it when you first came?
I don't know.
You don't know. You don't have a clue, right?
No.
You just do what you're told. Well, so do you feel like it's beneficial?
You're fine.
I don't know.
I guess you're going to wait to be told whether it was beneficial.
Yeah.
So,
When his therapy started today? I don't. Scott, he's not with Scott and them no more. Crystal just kind of comes down whenever she gets time.
Gosh.
Yeah, when we come back from lunch break, we plan on getting him up anyway.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, get him in the chair. Yeah.
when is lunch break?
He doesn't
end?
that very well. He's so hard to pull back.
Well,
He's like,
usually they get me lunch from 11:30 till 12.
So it's just, I'm early, I guess, and I was supposed to be here at 10, but do you see the time anywhere?
Yeah, it's 10 after 10.
Okay, well, I'll be out before they need you more than I do right now. But I'm really excited, David, about this because I'll be able to document. Like I say, you're the second. I'm going to get 6 people, different varieties of disabilities, and see where they're coming from. The whole movement is to have better services in the home and to help people get out. You know, so many people aren't motivated, you know, when they're helpless or feel, you know, dependent on others, and they just get depressed and think, is this all there is? So we're planning a psychological or non-motor issues. All those, there must be 20 I could name right now of things that have nothing to do with whether you can walk or, well, they do have something to do. Everything's related, but just a way to, I think, make awareness, promote awareness of special needs, but not the special needs that we usually think when we use that word, special needs. But, well, for instance, Dr. Parkinson was an empath. He was promoting visiting people at home and talking to them, you know, looking into their eyes, holding their hands, being I don't know, I would call it love, the Good Samaritan, And he did that, and some of the old-time doctors, many of them did. So we're also trying to promote awareness of that need, that possibly the people that can't be reached are what we're looking at, those that are left out and underrepresented in the whole medical community, their non-motor needs. And maybe you don't have very many. Can you tell me what one need would be beyond standing up?
No.
You just want to do that first and then go from there. Yeah. So you don't lie here and wonder if this is all there is.
No.
Because you know it isn't, right?
Right.
Okay. Well, some people don't, and we're going to kind of look at those people, you know. And I'm just surprised at how well you look, and because I've seen kind of the suffering that you've gone through, and just, you know, hoping that can end soon, those physical morbidities.
Yeah.
And so do you think maybe you'll be walking before long, like taking steps?
I don't know, Lyda.
I mean, intuitively, do you kind of...
Yeah.
That's what you want to do.
Right.
You want to be a so-called normal human being, interacting in the world and being you. And you can be you much better if you're able to walk and kind of be who you are fully.
Mm-hmm.
So what advice would you give me? I'm really open.
I don't have any idea, Lyda.
You will think about it, I think.
Okay.
You think how foolish I am to think I can effect a change in this huge market. You know, it's like one little ripple in the lake, you know, just barely seen or heard, but I'm like a warrior for those that are mistreated. I'm not saying that you are. I'm just saying that I've dealt with people, relatives who were totally abused and neglected and to the near death stage.
Yeah, I'm not being mistreated
no,
here.
You're not.
No.
I know you're not.